The best episode of From Season 4 just happened, and I need to talk about all of it. Let's start with what this episode did that no other episode this season has managed. It moved every single thread forward simultaneously. The reincarnation theory went from speculation to town-wide crisis. Fatima's connection to Smiley went from unsettling background detail to the most important development of the entire season. Sophia dropped her mask just enough to show us exactly how dangerous she is. And Boyd is running out of time in ways he still won't admit to the people around him. If you've been patient with this show, and From has always required patience, Episode 7 is the payoff you've been waiting for. Let's go through everything. The colony house basement door is sealed, which is probably wise given that Jade's mushroom vision, the one everyone was treating as drug-induced hallucination, led Boyd directly to the wall that, when torn down, revealed a secret passage connecting to the underground tunnel system where the monsters sleep. That's not a vision anymore. That's confirmed intelligence. The things Jade sees are real, or real enough that acting on them produces real results. And the town is going to have a very hard time continuing to dismiss that. Jade places a talisman on the door anyway, because even when you know where the monsters sleep, you don't leave that door unattended. He then spends a significant portion of the episode mapping the tunnel system from what his visions showed him. A painstaking process that becomes important later for reasons we'll get to. But the real detonation of this episode happens at the town meeting, which is where everything starts to fracture. Two camps are forming. You can feel it in every conversation. The people who believe Jade and Tabitha are the reincarnations of Christopher and Miranda. And the people who think that's exactly the kind of desperate magical thinking that gets communities destroyed from within. And here's the thing, both camps have a point. The reincarnation theory, if true, has enormous implications. If Tabitha shares Miranda's memories, and potentially the memories of dozens of past inhabitants across every cycle this town has chewed through, then she is the single most valuable source of accumulated knowledge about this place that has ever existed in one body. She knew how to kill the nightmare doll using the totem because Miranda knew. That information came from somewhere real. But Sophia, and this is the part that should chill you, has already been working on this. She casually mentioned to Julie and Kenny how strange it is that all the bad things this season started after Jade and Tabitha arrived. She told Pastor Dunn something even more specific and more disturbing. Her favorite part of watching this town is seeing the people inside it tear each other apart. She's not just an observer, she's an accelerant. She finds the crack in the community's trust, and she presses on it. She's been pressing on the Jade and Tabitha crack since before most of the town even knew the crack existed. The reincarnation theory doesn't just create philosophical questions, it creates deeply uncomfortable personal ones. Victor quietly asks Ethan whether the fact that Tabitha shares Miranda's memories makes them brothers. Tabitha has to sit down with her own children and explain that the memories she carries aren't just Miranda's. They potentially span dozens of past inhabitants, going back to the beginning of whatever this place is. Henry calls it a lie. Victor goes somber and warns Boyd that if the man in yellow is back in the cycle, it means they're repeating. He tells Ethan to be prepared. He specifically says Ethan might be this cycle's sole survivor, the way Victor was the last time. That moment with Victor should stop everyone in their tracks. Because Victor survived by hiding. He survived as a child, while everyone around him was killed. And he has spent his entire life in this town carrying that specific, particular guilt. Now he's looking at Ethan and seeing the next version of himself. And instead of comforting the kid, he's telling him to prepare. Victor understands something about the stakes of this cycle that nobody else has fully absorbed yet. And the fact that nobody has simply sat him down and asked for a complete, step-by-step timeline of the original massacre. Everything he saw, everything he remembers, everything he drew in all those pictures remains the most frustrating missed opportunity in the show's 4-season run. Boyd's plan is still in motion. But Boyd is deteriorating in ways he is actively hiding from the people around him. The plan itself is elegant in its desperation. The children's bones are in the monster tunnels. If those bones can be retrieved, and brought to the Lake of Tears. The lake's documented capacity for restoration might be able to do something with them. It's not a certainty. It's a theory built on incomplete information about a magical lake in a town that operates on rules nobody fully understands. But it's the best theory anyone has. The problem is getting into the tunnels past a labyrinth of corridors guarded by things that have been living down there for decades. Boyd's hypothesis is that the settlement totems might work on the monsters the way they worked on the nightmare dolls. He sends Acosta to inventory everything in the colony house basement and the diner storage, looking specifically for anything connected to the 1970s and the man in yellow, physical objects with historical weight. And then Boyd finds the Viewmaster, a toy sitting in the basement with an image of his wedding day with Abby inside it. This town has always used personal history as a weapon. It reaches into your memory and pulls out the things that hurt the most and holds them in front of you. Boyd is alone in that basement holding a toy that shows him his own wedding, and the expression on his face is the expression of a man who doesn't know anymore if what he's seeing is real or manufactured. He's downplaying his cognitive decline to Christy. He's lying about his hallucinations. His tremors are getting worse, and he's privately terrified it's Parkinson's, the same disease that took his father. Christy wants to examine him. She's noticed. After his public episode, the people around him have noticed. Boyd's entire strategy depends on him being functional long enough to execute a plan that requires physical capability and clear thinking. And the clock on both of those things is running faster than he's admitting. While Boyd deals with the basement, Henry is unraveling in a completely different direction. He finds Victor's drawing of Eloise and Miranda. He stares at it, and then he has a vision, himself hooked up to hospital equipment with Victor standing over him. Victor in this vision appears almost neurotypical, more present, less fragmented than the Victor we know. Here's why that detail matters. Victor's fragmentation is the result of decades of trauma accumulated inside this town. The Victor in Henry's vision doesn't carry that fragmentation, which means either the vision is showing Henry something from before Victor became who he is now, or the vision is entirely false. The evidence points toward false, specifically toward manufactured. Sophia dropped her blood into Henry's drink in the previous episode. That wasn't casual contamination. That was a deliberate act with a specific purpose, establishing a backdoor into Henry's mind. The vision is almost certainly Sophia's work. She's pushing the narrative that this is all a dream, that none of it is real, that Jade and Tabitha are the source of the problem rather than the people trying to solve it. She's trying to turn Henry into an antagonist from the inside, weaponizing his grief and his skepticism against the people who need him to trust them. It's working. Henry is already one of the town's most emotionally volatile presences. Sophia is making it worse. Precisely. And then there's what Sophia does with Roger. The resurrection sequence is the most visually disturbing thing the season has produced, and possibly the most disturbing thing the show has attempted in 4 seasons. She cracks fertilized chicken eggs over Roger's corpse. Blood sacrifice as mechanism, lesser life energy transferred into a dead body to animate it with something primal and wrong. The result isn't Roger. It's something wearing Roger's shape, driven by something that doesn't understand doors or social norms, or the concept of stopping. It bursts into Colony House. Talismans don't stop it, because it technically isn't a monster. It came from outside the town's established supernatural architecture. It's something Sophia built, and the town's defensive systems work designed for it. Elgin is the one who stops it. He grabs a totem and uses it as a weapon in the most direct physical sense possible, and it works. The corpse goes down, but Sophia is watching from the top of the stairs, and the expression on her face is someone who just got exactly the data she came for. Meanwhile, outside, Boyd's monster ambush falls apart immediately. His tremors are too severe to execute the plan himself. Tenny steps up, has to step up, because the alternative is nobody doing it. But Sophia, through the town's monster communication network, or something that functions like it, has already ticked them off. When Kenny strikes the milkman monster with the totem, nothing happens. The monsters coordinate instantly, sealing every house entrance, trapping Kenny in the open. This is important. The totem that killed the nightmare dolls does nothing to the monsters. Every entity in this town has a specific vulnerability. The dolls have the totems. The music box had to be physically destroyed. The monsters, and Boyd figured this out in Season 2, are vulnerable to the infected worms from Martin's dungeon. The problem is that the worms require a supply run that only Julie can execute via story walking, and Julie's story walking has not been going smoothly. Kenny runs, he gets to the bus, and Smiley is there. Smiley, the monster that killed Tien Chen, his mother, the monster that Fatima gave birth to in the most cosmically disturbing development in a show full of cosmically disturbing developments. Kenny is about to die. That's what the scene is. You can feel the choreography of it building towards something that the show has been threatening all season. And then Fatima screams, not out of fear, something else, something connected. Since Smiley's birth, Fatima has said she feels linked to him. The golem she built was supposed to sever that connection. Instead, in the tradition of the most important folkloric golems, including the Golem of Prague that Fatima herself referenced, the golem is a protector, and what it's protecting isn't just Fatima, it's whatever bond the town forced her to create. Smiley stops, he reverts to his human form, long enough for Kenny to throw him off the bus and survive. Fatima can see through Smiley's eyes. That's the reveal sitting underneath the more dramatic surface moment. She doesn't just feel connected to him, she has access to his perception, which means potentially, if she can learn to work with that connection rather than just react to it, she can see whatever he sees, know whatever he knows, possibly even influence what he does. The Golem of Prague eventually went rogue, got too powerful to control, turned on the community it was built to protect. The show is not doing this casually. That specific folk story is in the text because the warning embedded in it is real and coming. What the town looks like after this night is not the same town it was before it. Roger's corpse has been stopped. The monsters have demonstrated that the totem strategy has failed. The reincarnation theory has fractured the community along lines that Sophia has been drawing all season. Boyd is hiding how sick he is. Victor has told the child to prepare to be the sole survivor of a massacre. Father Khatri appears to Boyd in the sheriff's office back room where the bullets are stored. He tells him, "This is where you make your stand." That's not comfort, that's instruction. Boyd's stand is coming, and it's coming in that specific room. Tabitha comes home to a ringing telephone. The entity uses the phone for cruelty. It's going to be Jin's voice, or Thomas's, or something that sounds like them. There's a funeral pyre outside Colony House. Roger's body burning because the cemetery is full and something infected needs to be stopped from spreading. Jade is somewhere, snashing his tunnel maps in pure frustration because the puzzle keeps producing more puzzle. The town is on the edge of a civil war it doesn't know it's already in. The monsters are smarter than they've ever been. Sophia is operating openly enough that she's barely pretending anymore. And the man in yellow, wherever he is watching everything move exactly where he needs it to go. Drop your theories in the comments. Can Fatima actually learn to control Smiley? Is the golem going to turn on them? And what does Boyd's stand in the sheriff's office look like when it finally happens? Because episode 7 just changed the shape of this season, and I don't think any of us are fully prepared for what comes next.